So let's do this first. For everyone that will be watching this, and they will look at your name and try to say it, how do you say your name?
Stepping into fire.
That's really good. That's funny. I meant to name your birth name.
Ah, Annikki.
That was good though. But so how do you say your first name? Your name.
Annikki.
So now what we're gonna do, everybody, for all of you who go to her page, you have got to see her name. And if you have any children from here on out that are girls, please name them after her because it's one of the coolest names that's been on this show. Really cool name.
People
Really, really
always,
cool.
if I introduce myself, people actually think it's Anarchy. And they were like, what? Your mom gave you the name Anarchy? It's like, yeah, that's right.
Wait, so I'm going to ask a question now before we get into this. Personality-wise, do you consider yourself an anarchist?
Yeah.
First, yeah,
I think
I can tell.
actually.
Say
An
it again.
anarchist in the good way.
Okay,
Like
an anarchist in a. Say
responsibility.
it again. What?
Self-responsibility. Anarchy
Okay,
is based on self-responsibility.
right. So for those of you who are going to our page or checking it out, this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how to be an emotional anarchist. That's pretty much from my perspective. Now you're agreeing with me, but that's the way. When I saw your page, I went like, okay, that's pretty cool. And the pre-show you said about the anarchist, and I went like, okay, I'm going to ask her that at the beginning of the show. That's about as prepared as I'm going to be, because it's like you're going to train everybody to be an emotional anarchist. So here we go. Now, first thing first, inner child. When I say inner child to you, and someone maybe is going to watch this later on or with us right now, thank you for everybody that's here. I see Paula's here and some others. Paula's going to be on the show next month. But what I was going to mention to you, when others see this, they don't know what it means when you say inner child or inner child work. What do you mean by that when you say that?
Well, inner child is basically a psychological term which describes all the parts of ourselves that we got conditioned in our childhood that sunk into our subconscious mind, that we don't really have access to in our like conscious living, but they are still working. So it's all the conditioning that happened to us when we were growing up as a kid that we still act on without knowing.
Now, that conditioning comes from those who were our caretakers and who managed, who took care of us, who managed us, hopefully didn't mismanage us. But sometimes maybe they mismanaged us, which caused problems.
I think our parents mismanaged because they're human. They make mistakes.
Good point. No, valid point. No, extremely valid point. Now I have to go and really think about this as a parent. So anyhow, so now I have to think about what I've done, my poor children. So what I was going to say is, when it comes to the inner child work that needs to be done, what is a person working on, or what are they unraveling based upon what you mentioned on your page?
So I think the inner child work is really starting to understand what happened to us in our childhood that caused some wounds, and it doesn't have to be like, it's the term inner child is also very connected with like emotional trauma. We all had certain degrees of trauma happening to us. Most of us did, in our upbringing. And so healing this, really, first of all, you need to understand what were the imprints that happened to you when you were a kid, and how now does that still unravel in your adult life in certain patterns you have, right? So it's all about the patterns that show up in your life now that you're not even aware that, like, where do they come from? You might be somebody who's very anxious, who like finds it hard to relate to others, who's like not trusting, or somebody who's like a workaholic maybe, and like that constantly burns out. And all of those things come from limiting beliefs, for instance, that got installed in our childhood. So we can all trace most of the things we can trace back to our childhood and also later on, like the imprints of the imprints we get for sure start in our childhood from our caretakers, mostly our parents, and those are the biggest imprints, right? But the imprinting doesn't stop there. Then there come the teachers, then there come our peers, then there comes society at large, then there come our partners, and so forth. So we will getting imprints, and I think my work is really understanding first what imprints we got in our childhood, and then also understanding how then, and still now, things are still leaving imprints, like conditioning. They're conditioning us, right? So it's like being really aware on how we got conditioned. And then, and then,
I got you.
and
You're
then
still there.
I have this
So,
like funky little construction I built. You should see it. It's ridiculous.
oh,
Like
really?
resembling a. It's very
Hmm.
wobbly. Anyway, so the idea is to understand our conditioning and then start to uncondition ourselves, because the idea is that we are a free, self-determined human being. I wish for all of us that we are a free, self-determined being, like not acting from our past and our imprints we got through the various stages of our life.
Imprints are always negative, or are they negative and positive aspects or
No,
influences?
you can get very beautiful imprints, you know, but this is not the stuff we need to hear. If we have
Right.
only
Hmm.
good imprints, we're going to be a shining, radiant human being. But most
Yeah.
of us that land on those pages are a little bit like, you know, and I was for
I'm
sure.
sorry. I'm
So
sorry. I'm sorry. Could you do that again? Could you do that again? What was that?
emotionally,
Emotionally crooked, or deformed in many different, because a person can feel that way. They can maybe experience, you said trauma, right? They can experience things that will leave an imprint that will affect them in their secular or relationships later on. Um, how can they recognize those things? How can they begin to recognize that they have an imprint that's causing them to just have a knee-jerk reaction, where maybe they need to take a step back and look at why they react a certain way?
that I like, if I, for instance, work on this stuff with clients, I always say, what patterns do keep showing up in your life, in your relationships, most of the time, because they are our strongest mirror. They will mirror back what is unhealed. So what patterns keep showing up? And also what's the quality of your self-talk inside of your head? What are the things that you keep saying towards you? So those are two indicators where you could measure, okay, what's going on here. If you have a lot of negative self-talk, this needs to be checked, because most of that stuff, the negative self-talk, comes from imprints. This is not how we are
The,
born. This is
not how we're, of course, yeah, we're the blank slate, so somebody's dumping something into us that causes us to have the negative self-talk. But go back to the first one. The first one was what again? What did you just say? The second one is
patterns.
the patterns. Okay, so a person needs to look at those two things, the patterns and the self-talk, negative self-talk, especially negative self-talk. So when it comes to the different patterns that a person can be exposed to earlier in their life, those patterns could come from those who are taking care of them, huh?
Yeah.
And they're not good ones, maybe. And then
They're not what?
a child, they're not good patterns that they picked up maybe from their parents or someone else,
Like, for
or
instance,
even
if you learned, I make an example, right? For instance, if you find it hard to trust people, and it's hard for you to open up to people, to get into relation with others, meaning relationships or also friendships, anything, that most of the, and you like keep repeating this, right, in your life. So this is just something somebody
one
wants
bad
to get close,
relationship.
and you put up walls. So,
Oh, okay.
and that, I don't mean relationship between partners. I mean intimacy between all people, right? Relating with people. You have a hard time opening up. Most likely that can be traced back to your childhood. And then we find in the childhood, we maybe find that you had parents that were maybe unsafe to open up to. Whenever you expressed yourself as a kid, they would be super volatile, for instance. That's one example, right? So those things can be traced back. And I'm not saying that this is the only possibility, right? If you don't open up, you have volatile parents, there are many possibilities, but this we do in individual sessions. We figure out what happened that made you that way.
So when that person, I'm going to use me as an example because I think I'm the best guinea pig for this. I would use, oh, hey, here, nope, I got a better idea. Here we go. No, wait, I'm going to get a little bit more comfortable here. Hold on. Here we go. So, I got to put my legs up here. So I have someone who we could use as an example for what you're talking about. His name is Milo. So let's talk with Milo right now because are you laughing at Milo? That's just messed up. So Milo has volunteered to be the guinea pig in this discussion. So let's say Milo has developed patterns that he puts up walls every time someone in a relationship, or he's just having difficulty relating to people. So how do we get Milo into this aspect in which he starts to look at these patterns in relationship that he keeps self-sabotaging?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, we need to determine what those
He's
what
here
belief
now.
systems.
He's in the room. He's here in the room.
Milo,
So
we need to figure out.
I'm sorry. I don't know where that came from, but he's my favorite friend. He rides around with me when I go for a drive. Anyhow, go ahead. You were saying.
Yeah,
First of
I'm
all,
just saying, like, I would really go back. First, we need to determine what his problems are, right? So if he has
okay,
problems in opening up to others and
right,
relating, I would probably do some more digging. Like, how does that show up? Like, in what exact situation? What do you
got
do?
it,
You know, like trying to evaluate the situation now. And then
right,
once I have that figured out, I would go back and try to understand where did that happen. So I would look at what Milo's relationship was to his father and his mother. And we would
okay,
start digging in the early childhood years, the first memories that come up, you know, and really like descriptive. Tell me all the situations as much as you can. And from there, it's almost like you make a puzzle, you know, and
wow,
like, okay, I found another piece that fits together. Click. Oh,
right,
and then we have a lot of like memories, a lot of little scenarios that show up, what the
yeah,
mother said, what the father says, where they're present, and so forth. And then slowly but surely over a couple of sessions, there will be an image coming up that get very clear. And all of a sudden, from all of those puzzles from your subconscious mind, you create an image that's like, oh my God, this is it. This is why. And only that knowledge alone can lead to a lot of, in my experience, can lead to a lot of healing. First of all, forgiveness, you know, for yourself, because most of the time people think they're messed up. Something is really wrong with them. They're like, you know, something
mm-hmm.
yeah, they're wrong. Something is wrong with them, you know, and they come to me with
Mm-hmm.
this problem. And then when they start to understand, oh, actually, now it all made sense. It comes from my
Right, right,
childhood. This is where it's from. Then it lifts so much weight of them, you know. They probably get really angry at their parents, but this is also a process that they have to go through. And then they
okay.
will also find closure and forgiveness with their parents eventually. That's part of the process too, you know. Forgiving yourself first, but
Yeah.
also forgiving your parents. So
So
this
does
will be more towards the end of the process. We will find forgiveness.
so that kind of can create like a chain reaction. Then the parents can, if they're still alive, they're probably kicking it around, and then they go to therapy, or they find you, and then they look at what happened to them.
Well,
You
you're
you could
very
save
lucky
an
that
entire neighborhood. You could save an entire neighborhood. I'm talking to a queen of neighborhoods here. You're just like awesome. Okay, wait.
oh,
So
again, you
Milo.
know what? It's not important. It's not important if your parents go to therapy because it's not
Oh, of course
important
not.
what
Right.
the
I see
outcome
what you're
was.
saying. Right, right.
It's important what's inside of you and how you look at what happens to you, right? If you're
Mhm.
constantly in the victim, then this game is lost. But if you have like this place of like, okay, I understand also what happened to them, because what happened to me is not only what happened to me, it probably also happened to them. And that's also part of the process, that we are actually looking at what happened to them in order to understand why they acted the way they did. They didn't act that because they are bad people.
Mm-hmm.
They acted that way because they didn't know any better. They had no skills whatsoever to do it any better. So this is also the forgiveness part, right? And then it doesn't matter if they go to therapy or not. You have so much forgiveness in your heart that you are just like, this is just the
How
way
does
it
it?
is.
How does the victimhood get in the way then? So if a person is seeing themselves as a victim all the time, essentially you're saying that gets in the way of the healing.
Oh, victimhood is the biggest break, and a lot of people, and including me. Oh my God, I was so in the victim, and I had a very good teacher,
Oh well,
inspiration teacher.
change the subject. Let's not talk about. Wait, let's not talk about Milo. Then we'll talk about you. No, just kidding. Go ahead. So,
Yeah. No, I
victimhood.
also had a childhood that was not, I would say, not necessarily easy. And there were a lot of negative imprints in my childhood, right? And I was just in the victim. I was like, my mother, what a beep, And
Yeah, I don't have a
I was
button
just
for that
out
word.
in the place, and I was like, poor me, poor me, poor me. And then I had a teacher who was a psychologist and a spiritual teacher, and he was just like, wake up, girl, snap out of it. If you want to
Wow.
heal, you need to look at your own stuff first, Also, what were your parts in the story? And understanding, not only sitting there and blaming, but like actually doing the work, right? Understanding what happens, and also understanding that. So that's taking responsibility, instead of just sitting there and like in the corner, poor me. No, let's get into the work and start to understand what happened in order to resolve it. Become proactive.
So looking at the patterns that that Milo has been doing and going through, sabotaging, faltering in relationship, sometimes he could end up getting to that point where he has a lot of negative self-talk too. How does a person navigate around this negative self-talk that could get in the way of them healing?
It's not about navigating around it. It's going right towards it. So like, this is the negative talk, for instance. I would let them make a list of all the
Hmm.
stuff that
Wow.
this like inner,
Oh, wow.
the negative from the inner judge, right? That's like a part of our psyche, that is constantly there. Like, you could have done better. Like, why did you do that way? Look at you, you loser. You're not working hard enough. And like all this like stuff. And I let them write down all of it and let them read
All
that
of it.
out.
Okay,
As,
so that could take
as
a
much.
while. That could take a while, right? I mean, they may think of things right away, but it's still stuff will still start popping in their head. Well, stuff would start popping in Milo's head as he's writing this down, and he may go a month or a week or two, a few days later, and keep writing things. He could keep remembering things that he says to himself.
Yeah.
But again,
I always
that's
call it
the,
like the treasure hunt. So this is the
the tra-
treasure hunt.
Well, okay, wait, that's
The
pretty good.
more
You need do you have a program called that you work that you should call it Pro Treasure Hunt? That's a really good name. That should be your book. I tell people that every time they go. That's a great name for a book. Somebody's writing something. Oh, is that my buddy on there? That's my buddy on there. So you got something written on the screen there. You see that? Understanding where the negative self-talk came from is important to address. And that's what you're saying there. I'm saying hi to my buddy
yeah,
Anton.
what Psalm 33rd is saying,
His name is
exactly that. Just
his name is Anton, by the way. Just thought I'd let you know. That's,
Anton. Hi, Anton.
yeah.
So exactly that, what we were talking about earlier. But like, first we have to understand all the negative self-talk, and then we can start working on that. Then we can dismantle all of that negative self-talk. Like, is that really true? Is that the truth? And then I would go into each and every part and see if that is really true, and if we can find arguments against that. So that's the limiting belief work, right?
Right.
And then
You had another. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was going to tell you had another comment on there. I just didn't want to ignore their comment. But go ahead.
Yeah,
It was
I
before
will
his.
finish that and I can jump to the other one.
Yeah. Go ahead. You were saying.
Yeah. And then what Anton was saying, so the limiting beliefs, the negative self-talk, we figure this out. And then from there, we can go, aha, interesting. All that stuff that I keep saying to myself, that is not true. Where did
Yeah.
that come from? Who
Wow.
installed that thought in my
Hmm.
brain, you know?
Yeah. So
So,
so so
yeah.
so a person can
But
go back and look.
I have a hard time. I still have, because some of
Yeah.
that imprints are very strong, but I got a lot better. But like when I was younger, I could not trust. I would always believe that people were abandoning me. So I could not, I was
Wow.
always like looking out for people, you know, like withdrawing, abandoning me. And I would create self-sabotage myself, create scenarios this way till I understood, oh, this is
Wow.
what this. I never had a father. My father left when my mother was pregnant. And also, then my mother left me when I was 1 with my grandparents. And then later on, she left me I got left a third time when she had a new family. So all of that stuff, that all of a sudden made sense. Like understanding, okay, you know, like I have this pattern of not trusting because of like my imprints in my childhood that were so strong.
So did you find it a struggle to get close to people and let yourself be vulnerable with them?
Not anymore because I worked really hard on myself, you know, and like
But in the in the
I
past
did some.
in the past in the past you did, but you worked on
Oh
that,
yeah.
is what you're saying. So someone needs to. I'm just saying that I'm saying this to you right now. Someone needs to hear that. I know you already know that, but I just wanted to make sure that someone who watches this later understands that there is hope, right? If they want to do the work, there's a way to get rid of those patterns that someone else put into you. Does that make sense? What I just
Oh, one
I
hundred
because
percent,
I didn't know whether my
100%.
signal. Yeah. So a person shouldn't think that they're a lost cause, right?
No, nobody's a lost cause. Nobody's a lost cause.
Because there are things that they can do to work toward freeing themselves. Paula had mentioned earlier about the inner critic chattering away. So maybe they have this inner critic or this pattern always in their head of negative self-talk, but maybe they need to find someone like you. By the way, what is your page again so people can find you? What's your page? Your Instagram
Higher,
page? Stepping into the
stepping
fire.
into.
How'd you come up with that name, Stepping into the Fire?
It just, I don't know. It just came to me. I actually don't know. I can't remember how I came up with it, but it made so much sense. I was just like, this is it, because it will burn, but it's the fire of transformation. You know, you come out on the other side, and you will be a new you if you dare.
So,
If you dare.
so well, if you dare, if you dare, well, they're gonna. We would like ourselves more. Milo's gonna like himself when he does the work, right? Because he's gonna feel better and not feel trapped by bad patterns and talking to himself in a negative way. Is that really
Exactly.
considered
And
the
I
inner?
think this is where the
Go
self-love,
ahead.
right? This is where the self-love ties in. Like,
Oh, okay.
like once you understand like all of that, you can be also so much kinder to yourself, you know?
Okay.
And like
So
not,
this is not
and
the
like once
this is
you get
not the
by
self
that voice,
love.
like, no. I'm not gonna listen to you, buddy. Like, like, you know how I call this voice?
No. Well, how do you call this voice?
But like, in psychology, it's called the inner judge, but I call it the swimming teacher. And for me, in my
The
process, it was
swimming
this
teacher.
guy, this like in Germany, we had always the swimming teachers that would stay at the side of the pool in their little Speedos with their little mustache on, like a mullet maybe. And they would just go like, one more, not fast enough, not good enough. And you would be swimming and you would be almost drowning.
Okay.
And it was never good enough for him. So I call him the swimming teacher, and
The
like I make
swimming
I make
teacher.
fun of him. Whenever he enters the room, I'm just like, I don't need you. You're in pension, man. Go, go. go
That's
and
pretty good.
grill some sausages with your friends or
Grill,
something, but I'm not available for you.
grill some sausages, and he's wearing Speedos. He's the swimming coach. That gives me a new visual anytime something negative crops up in my head. Wait, hold on. Did you understand that, Milo? Do you understand what you have to do? The swimming. Now, wait, I have to ask. We got
What
so
can I
much
say?
happening. People are talking to you. I don't know if you know this. People are talking on the screen to you. So go ahead.
Yeah. So I want to say something to Paula.
Yeah.
That just said it's great to name your inner critic. And this is also one exercise that you can also do with yourself, like, but I do it with my clients always. I make them
Yeah.
draw a picture. What is your inner
Really?
critic like? No?
That's
And like,
cool. That's cool.
it's super fun. And then it's like, okay, like, what's the gender? Or does it have even a gender,
Right,
Then
right.
what's the name? What's the job? What, what is she wearing? And it just gets super fun because then like we have a laugh about it. It's
Not
not
scary.
something.
Not scary. Not scary.
No,
It's not
because
something.
I also think like sometimes, I mean, this voice, she is a jerk. Do you want to listen to it? No.
I knew you were gonna say it. I knew if I just kept going, you were gonna say it was a joke. I knew if I could just hang in there, you would eventually say it because I was waiting for you to say it because I didn't want to say it because I wanted you because it sounds much better coming from you. I'm sorry. That person is really not someone that should dominate our life or our mind, right?
Exactly. And it's like
So
under no conditions we need to we can listen to the inner judge. It's really not a good advisor. We need to listen to our inner cheerleader.
I like that. What do you say? Our inner what? Did you say cheerleader? Is that what you said? So does your cheerleader have a name?
No, not yet. I should
No,
actually
no.
do that myself. Why not?
You should do that with your clients. To have that with you, yeah, and they could draw what that cheerleader looks
Yeah,
like. Say it again.
but
What was that?
I never did it for myself. I think like in the when I was doing the work, the inner cheerleader
Yeah.
wasn't presented.
So you have not always lived where you are there. You have not always lived where you are right now. What was
But
your
I'm right
journey
now.
like?
I wanted to show you because I'm not even in Bali. I'm in a super remote
Oh,
island in Indonesia. Wait,
a super remote
that's my
island.
view.
Oh my goodness, look at that. Hey man, I think you're going to be doing more shows with me just so I could see that and talk with you. That is way cool. That is seriously cool. Where are you now? What part of the world?
It's called Sumbawa. It's an island. It's Indonesia.
Okay, yeah,
Indonesia has many islands, and one of them is
yes.
Bali, and a few islands further down is Sumbawa. It's a very remote place with beautiful views.
Wow. Okay, so just briefly, give us an idea of how you went from having an inner critic that controlled and affected you to being where you are right now. What is your life story like? So it can give inspiration to others to show that there is hope when they do the inner child work and ignore the inner critic. What was life
Yeah.
like for you before now?
Oh, I mean, where to even start? Like, I was just I was not in a good place, hey, like for myself. I was so like my life story really made me in someone who was really like, I think in a way like emotionally crippled
Yeah.
and like not really able to trust, very insecure, always acting out of the corner like a cat,
Mm.
putting his claws up, just very troubled, like lots of addictions, and yeah, not in a good place, you know. And like I think I always sort of managed because I'm very strong, and I
Yeah.
always somewhat managed to go to
Yeah.
push through.
Yeah.
But then it was just like I hit rock bottom a couple of times, you know, where I was just
Wow.
like, okay, I need to change something here, you know. And then I did a couple of like psychotherapies, but there I don't think they really worked. And then I was lucky enough to find my teacher, who's also a psychologist. He's from Brazil, and that was like for me that was the breakthrough. We did a lot of shadow work and some inner child work with him, and that for me it really opened the door for me. So I think like sometimes it can be a book, right? Sometimes it can be a spiritual or like a teacher. Sometimes if you have a really good psychologist or a coach, they can help you have that breakthrough moment where you just like, and you know, you have to really like, okay, like I really want to heal. I'm done here. I cannot suffer anymore. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, you walk through that door and then it's like, it sinks in and you're like, oh, and then when this is when it started, right? And from there, like so like I really went on this crazy healing journey, like, you know, like whatever I could find, I would like like a Hoover, like suck in, like
One big
retreat.
vacuum. You were just one thing after another. Okay, so what was the
Yeah.
first one? What was the first one when that you started sucking up and consuming, and how many were
Oh,
there?
so many, I don't even know. But this was the first one. Really was he's called Prem Baba. He's yeah, like a spiritual teacher slash psychologist, and that was in India a few years back. That it was called the ABC, and my friend told me you should go, just do it. And I thought, yeah, like it's a silent retreat, it's a meditation retreat. Done many of those before. I did a yoga teacher training and whatnot, and I was like, oh, that's gonna be a piece of cake. And it was like group therapy sessions for 7 days, like 14, 16 hours a day. And it was so like you got slapped in the face there. Like it was a wake up call, and they didn't want to be gentle with you. It was like, you know, you got slapped awake, and I got slapped awake there. It was
And
very
from that
intense.
and from that
And
moment,
from there,
you
I
kept.
just kept doing.
No, go ahead. You were saying no. I'm listening to you. You did no. You're the superstar. I'm just the co-host. I'm just the sidekick. Go ahead. You doing good, girl.
And from that moment, I was just realizing that there's healing to do, and I can do it. It's not, I don't have to sit in the corner and blame my mother for the rest of my life. I can do it
Bingo.
myself. I can heal
Good.
myself. And then
Good.
I went to see it, various coaches. I went to like a lot of retreats, workshops. I did a bunch of ayahuasca, you know, stuff like that. That really helped me to come, yeah, like to heal myself. I'm not saying I'm fully healed. I don't think, you know, if you have severe trauma, it will always be something that will show up in your life. But like now, if it comes up, I'm like, oh, look, all trauma is being triggered here. Isn't that interesting? Let's have a look, you know, instead of getting so
I
identified
like that.
with your trauma, victim identity, or your sadness, or your whatever it may be.
So you have the ability now to almost, in other words, you're saying you can manage it, that you can see the trauma more than before. You were blindsided by the trauma and didn't think it was that, and were lashing out like a cat to situations and people. Because in the pre-show you were so chilled, I was. It was like you were so relaxed and so calm and cool. You're like a cool cat during the pre-show that we did. So I learned a lot by looking at your page. I have to ask you a few things off of your page because I know you can explain them better if I ask you these things. So, for example, when it comes to trauma, when it comes to to trauma, what's your viewpoint of trauma and how a person can navigate around trauma if it's triggered?
So my viewpoint is on trauma is that it doesn't have to be one impactful thing that happens to you, such as abuse, such as violence, such as neglect or something like that. That is allopathic trauma. It can also happen in small doses that come over an amount of time, right? So trauma is not necessarily what happens to you, but it's like how you also respond to it, you know? So and
Okay.
it's like little things keep happening to you that have like a big impact on you, then this is trauma, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so how, like for instance, if like I make an example because it's easier. So I said for the allopathic trauma, it can be abuse, neglect, abandonment, and so forth, right? And for the homeopathic trauma, it can also be like a busy parent that never has time for you, that always gives you to a nanny, and on the weekends, you know, you maybe go like play tennis at the or like they go play tennis at the tennis court and you can sit and watch them, and that's all the quality time they give you. And this is like, I'm not worthy of love, you know, or I'm not enough. This is
Okay.
when those
Right.
beliefs come from, and that is also traumatic because it shows up in your life and you are suffering from that, and it shows up in your life later, you know, that you might you hold that belief systems. And it's not by navigating around it. I don't think the idea is to navigate around it. I think the idea is just awareness. Awareness is the key. So like really understanding when your trauma is triggered, and just you know, as I said before, my trauma is triggered here, so that you don't become like so reactive, rather than like understanding, oh, this is it. Like old stuff is coming up for me here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how can I be there for myself now? How can I be there for myself? You know, and then it's like what I do a lot of the times is really like when you're very activated in your trauma, you can start talking to your inner child. You can take it on your lap and give it a hug and give it some strokes, like you would soothe a child, you know, that is in
Right.
distress.
Okay.
You can imagine
Mm-hmm.
yourself being that, like really bringing yourself towards yourself and talking to yourself, soothing yourself, self-soothing your inner child when it's activated.
When it comes to the different types of breathing exercises, you post some very encouraging videos when it comes to breathing. What are your suggestions and recommendations on why that is important for people to put into their pattern of living and healing, the proper breathing exercises?
Well, there are many different breathing exercises depending on what you want to reach, right? But the breath is connected to our nervous system. So if we have an activated nervous system, that happens when our trauma is activated, our sympathetic nervous system will be activated. And in order to self-regulate, to bring us back into a peaceful state, a calm state, we can use the breath, because that's the only real access point, or not the only one, but like a very good access point to our nervous
Right.
system, that we can hijack our nervous system and just say like, okay, no more fight and flight mode. We're gonna
Yeah.
calm down now. Take a few deep breaths into your belly. Exhale, 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 exhale. And this is how we tell our nervous system that, okay, you can relax, brother. Like everything is cool, you know? And this is just how we regulate ourselves. And then our
Yeah.
frontal cortex can kick in again, like our logical thinking, instead of like being, in the limbic system, where we are just like making like not the smartest decisions, because
Right.
it's fight
Right.
and flight.
We're making some bad decisions or knee-jerk decisions and not the smartest ones. Now I'm going to ask you about something that you also talk about quite well, the subconscious mind. The subconscious. Why is it important for people to really recognize how much of an impact it can have on our lives?
So the thing with the subconscious mind is that it's formed in our childhood, most of it between the ages of 0 and 6. This is when actually our mind, like our brain, gets developed, right? So also there, our subconscious mind takes in all the information, and that sinks into our subconscious mind, right? Like all the information. And then we don't have access to it anymore, because there is like an invisible barrier between the conscious mind, which is only 5%, and the subconscious mind, which is about 95%. But all of that subconscious mind is, comes from all the imprints we are having. So if we don't like start to understanding what is going on down here, we're going to run an autopilot, because the 5% have nothing to say, or very little. So we need to make the unconscious conscious, like as psychologist Carl Jung would say, in order to grow, to heal. That's we need to understand what's going on in our subconscious mind.
So you work with people so they can work through that, right? And they can learn more about their subconscious mind. Again, what is your page again? What is your Instagram page? Yeah.
Stepping into fire.
I had to plug that real quick. I had to stick that in real quick. Okay, so I'm gonna ask this because you just got too much for me to cover all right now. Plus, I would take away all your morning, but I got to do this. 5 easy ways to release heavy emotions. That's one of your postings that you have. You remember that one? Okay, so can you tell people a little bit? Huh?
Of course.
Can you tell them a little bit? But if you want to know more, you got to go to her page. You have to go to her page. But tell us a little bit about that. 5. I know. So 5 easy ways to release heavy emotions. You've got some things you do there. Can you just talk about it just for a little bit so they get an idea of what they'll see when they go to your page?
So the idea is that emotions are really connected to our body. Emotions are chemical reactions in our brain that then show up in the body. So we might become very, very activated with anger, with anxiety, with anxiety and fear, or sadness, and they come through our body. So the idea is, again, to hack that system. Like if emotions are being can run through our body, we can also access them that way. So by certain somatic techniques, so techniques that involve the body, we can hack this system and access, our nervous system again, to then calm ourselves down, to then send signals to the brain to release other neurotransmitters and other hormones, that will put us more in a state of calm than in activation. So this is the idea that, through a bunch of breathing exercises, through shaking, through making sounds through the mouth, we tell our brain to release certain neurotransmitters or hormones that put us in a state of peace and calm and happiness, ideally.
You have a very easy way of explaining things so that people can make progress. Watching your videos, looking at your page, the way you talk about how to do this work so that a person can free themselves from bad patterns that they learned as a child, you have a really nice way of doing that. But before you go, I have to play a game with you before you go that I made just for you. So that means I'm going to ask you 3 things right now. And I want you to just go ahead and answer whichever way you'd like to. But it gives people a chance to get to know you a little bit better, because you are very knowledgeable. You're very knowledgeable. You have a great personality, and you're a very, very intelligent and bright person. But I have to ask you three things, and then I have one thing that is not a question. Well, you'll see. You'll see. So three things. First of all, here we go. One, if you had, now you're gonna make me laugh. I was trying to be serious. Now you're gonna make me laugh. Okay, so if you had an opportunity to go somewhere that you have not gone yet, if you had an opportunity to travel and go somewhere that you have not gone yet, if you had to describe that place to everybody else, that place that you could travel to, if you had to describe that place with one word, just think of the place first. Okay, now try to think of one word to describe it for all of us, what emotion it would make you feel if you got to that place.
Expansive.
Did you say expansive or expensive?
Expansive.
Okay, thank you. I thought you said expensive. I was gonna like, girl, talk about money right now. Okay, so we're talking expansive. Okay, so that's the first word, expansive. Okay, second question. When you got to that place, if you were there now, if you were there at this very moment, just visualize it in your mind, the power of imagination. Couple the power of imagination with your emotions. If you were there at that place, what emotion or set of emotions would you feel?
Joyful.
Joyful? Okay. So you want to an expansive place where you can be joyful. Third question. If you look back in time to when you were younger than you were now, excuse me, I wasn't even doing a lot of talking. I'm losing my voice. I don't know why. So you were younger, let's say a decade. Let's say a decade ago, 10 years ago. 10 years ago. If you could describe 10 years ago what your life was like, would it be expansive? Would it be joyful? What word would you use to describe what your life was like a decade ago?
Dark.
So one thing is for sure, you would enjoy going to this place you have in mind that you would love to travel to that none of us know. You know what it is. That's expansive, where you could be even more joyful than what you are right now. But you definitely don't want to go back in time where it was dark. So now, so 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 now, hold on. Yeah, I got to reach down here in my little cabinet. Hold on. All right, here we go. So now, expansive, joyful, and we don't want to go dark. So that only means that I have to grab this book, and I'm gonna. You can't. No, you're not. You can't see what it is, because if you know what I'm gonna do next if I show you the cover. So I'm gonna expansive, joyful, no darkness. You're looking toward the light. Okay, that's good. So therefore, I'm gonna ask you this very important question. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
This is very important. Here we go. Why was the duck happy after his doctor's appointment?
Why what?
Why was the duck happy after his doctor's appointment?
I don't know. So pun intended? I don't know what's going on.
This is very important to the end of the show. So why was the duck happy after his doctor's appointment?
I don't know.
Because he got a clean bill of health. Because he got a clean bill of... Hello, is this thing on? Is this thing... What did you... Because he got a clean bill of health. That's the... So I'm looking at a person right now who has a clean bill of emotional health. You've made a great deal of progress from the dark into the light for your life. So therefore, you have a clean bill of... That was a joke. That was a really good joke. I just thought it. Hello? Oh, don't give me no fake laugh. That's just messed up. It's like this. Okay,
That
so
wasn't fake. That was
no,
just
that
like
was real.
laughing.
Okay, all right.
At
Okay, so you have moved through areas of your life to really show others that they can do the same. That's why when I saw your page, I reached out to you and I really wanted you to be on the show so that my viewers and a lot of people who watch the show that don't follow me will download this and recognize that they're not alone, they're not a lost cause, that they do have to do, based on what you said, which make good sense to me, they have to do some work, right? They have to do some inner work that's going to pay off. It's going to pay off. But I got to ask, what was the place that you were thinking about that you want to go to?
Alaska.
Oh, Alaska. Okay. All right. See, now I would have thought you've already gone to a place like that. You've already traveled quite a bit. Alaska. Okay. So
I
now you're
did, but
getting
I
some
never
love on the
made it
screen.
up there.
Oh, you never made it up there? Okay. So you're getting some hearts. You're getting hearts on the screen. I just want you to know that. So people were sending you some hearts and some love. Maybe somebody you know. Hold on one second here. And I have our guest here, uh, Milo. He wants to thank you for helping him make progress, and so he can stop the negative self-talk, and so that he will start working on better patterns. You were an excellent guest today. You endured my bad time zones and stuff like that I did, uh,
Okay.
and I
Thank you
want
for
to
having
ask
me.
you to. No, no, I would, man, I would jump. Listen, you keep turning that camera around, showing me the ocean. I'm addicted to the ocean. You got me addicted. I want to see that all the time. That's beautiful out there where you are. But I need you to do me a favor before we go. Is there any encouraging words you want to pass on to people, so that they know that they can be in a better place and don't have to stay in the dark if they're in the dark?
There is a way out, always, like healing is possible for all of us. That's it. Healing is possible for all of us.
Thank you very
It
much.
is.
That should be your second book. Okay, I don't know what the you should have two books by now. You should be writing a
What was
book,
the
or we said what the first one was, but I forgot. I have to rewatch the show to find out, and then I'll tell you, or you'll find out. Listen, thank you so much for the anarchy, emotional anarchy you're telling everybody they need to do, and not just settle for what they have been told, but maybe re-examine that they are picking up some negative self-talk from people who raised them or that they've been around. And I'll remember the swimming coach in the Speedos. Thank you very much. I'm going to remember that. I appreciate this, the swimming. And we're going to have to find out the name of your cheerleader when you finally name your cheerleader at some point. I'll talk to you
no,
soon.
I might do it today.
What was that?
I might do it today. I might get do
Really?
some
Okay.
do a paint my cheerleader.
Do you paint as well?
Yeah.
You do? I missed that part. I don't remember. You do. You paint. Okay. All right. I have to look at some of your paintings at some time in the future. So thank you for being an excellent guest. Thank you for having a good sense of humor. And please, whatever
And
you
that
do, please.
is so important. This is not to be underestimated. Like, because the healing journey, like if we go back, can get very heavy. But we have to bring humor into it all. We have to make fun about ourselves, about our inner critic, about, the beep of a mother. Like, otherwise, it's like,
Uh, you know what? We're gonna do another show so we could talk about the. I don't have a beep button here, but we'll talk about the mother part, and that may help some other people who have. No, listen, I'm telling you, there are people that have written me that they would love to have a show about that. I haven't done one yet, so maybe you may be the person that I'll have to do it with, where you can talk about that because it's going to help a lot of people. I already know that contacted me already. I just haven't done a show on it yet, but it may be able to help some people see through the darkness because they may be blaming someone and they need to do the inner work themselves to heal.
yes,
Thank you.
100%.
Yeah. Enjoy the rest of your day there on your beautiful
Oh,
island. I'm not
thank
jealous at all. Uh, All right. All right. I'll see you later. Thank
All
you
right.
so much. Enjoy your morning. Good night from California, and have a beautiful
And
morning and day where you are there on your beautiful island. Thank you very much. Bye, everybody. We'll see everybody later. We'll see you. Bye.